Mm-hmm.
Listen to my podcast about sports. Howdy, Ags. AP here from the tailgate. We talk Aggie football every day. What's up, Stroud?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, dude. Show today brought to you by Frida Custom Homes, building Aggie dreams. So, for those of you that have been watching, our boy Stroud's been missing for a little bit. We've been having some technical difficulties with the video recording situation.
That's true.
So, the mountain came to Muhammad, man, and we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him on the show one way or the other. Folks, don't forget, email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Also, wanted to thank Courtney Patton. So this Friday night, we were out, little house party, man, and walking in the back, and young lady playing the guitar. Pretty nice voice.
Yep. Good. Good.
And I harassed her just long enough for her to give me the horrible jingle we just started with.
It was nice.
I think she's going to help us out and actually put something together that's going to be a little nicer, though. We'll see. All right, so today our topic will be SEC West quarterback rankings. But before we get there, a couple of news and notes. Baseball so far split Friday, Saturday with Bama this weekend. Great pitching performance on Friday, 3-2 game, and then Saturday last night they go sort of back and forth, and sort of go back and forth and lose one, 9-10, I think 9-10 1 run game there. So um, hopefully they can get the rubber match today. I think they probably are playing right now. Basketball boys go down to New York City. They got the one win. They play Xavier on Thursday in the NIT finals. What a game! What do you think, man?
You know, I was. It was a hard game to watch because they were at times really sluggish, especially in the first half when they got down on that big run they had. Fought all the way back. I believe they had an 8-point lead at halftime. Started off cold again in the second half, but fought their way, stayed up there, hit a few more free throws than usual, um, and stuck with it. They got down a couple times, 5, 6, 7 points, but they kept fighting back, take the lead by 1 point. You usually don't see that out of a lot of our Aggie basketball teams. They're usually once it goes down, it just stays down. But this team had a lot of swagger, had a lot of fight in them. They're very different than I'd say almost every single Aggie team I've watched since I've been going there.
So I'll say this. They sit in there, and the final score 73-72. Final score, 1 point game. They had a shot to take the lead by Boots that was like halfway down and
To
out,
win,
right, to win.
yeah,
And this team, you go and they start off. It's incredible to me because they start off, and at first they're still a little bit overwhelmed by the size of Xavier. Xavier had number 24, who's a 7-footer, right,
yeah.
and a shooter, by the way, great player. And he was just, I mean, his size was obviously bothering us right at the beginning, but they adjust. They come back like you talk about. They take the lead. I mean, and defensively, all of a sudden they start really just not allowing him to get involved, right? And what they did and the energy that they played with defensively, it was just unbelievable, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, they got, you hate to say it's a cliche word you hear a lot, but a lot of moxie.
Yeah,
And probably the best defensive team I've ever seen on the court for us, for a men's basketball
without
team.
any size, right? Our
No,
tallest guy's 6'8".
no. We got that one freshman that's a big boy.
Yeah,
They did get him involved a little bit. You wanted to get it for guys like Jackson, that they're done. No more eligibility left.
huge performance by Q2,
Yeah.
right? He was super aggressive. He kept us in the game all day, getting to the free throw line and making his free throws, right?
Yeah.
He had 23. Big performance. I thought Diarra had a great game as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think Jackson's definitely the firecracker on that team. He's the one they
For sure.
follow. When they get down, he does something crazy, like run up and down the court. He'll get stripped. He'll turn it around and block the guy 4 rows deep. And he's the one that keeps that momentum going. But you know, the way the season went, to have 8 losses in a row and to find a way to make that run to the SEC tourney championship game,
Nobody would have guessed that.
no, no. And then to get kind of slapped in the face by not making the tournament, um, and then to go back, reboot, get in the NIT tournament,
That's huge.
and get to go start back at home, and get that momentum going again, and then fight all the way and get to where no,
Shows their character, right?
yeah,
The
I
character,
mean,
the way they bounce back like that.
it's the only men's basketball team that's ever played that I know of for a basketball championship. I know it's the NIT, but
Oh yeah.
first time there. But as far as recruiting goes, and Buzz Williams, you couldn't have asked for more for the future.
Most games played in a season by
Yeah.
any A&M team. Most wins by
Wins,
any
yeah,
A&M basketball team.
yeah,
Uh, so unbelievable performance. You're right. I mean, look, they could have done some good things in the tournament. I think that team, the way it's structured, actually is built pretty well for the tournament because that second back-to-back game, those teams don't have a chance to prepare for this sort of level of defense,
yeah.
right? And so you get that they're gonna basically take a team in that second game that's not gonna be prepared to do what to face their pressure, their constant pressure, right?
Well, I think building on, look it up into for next season off of this. They're definitely going to carry a lot of momentum. I think they won 11 out of their last 13 games, something like that. A lot of press on national play, ESPN,
Huge, yeah.
huge for recruiting. And, you know, if we could go out there and get a little bit more size, we got that 7-footer, that freshman. He'll be definitely more involved.
Brown.
Yeah. And, there's crazy. If you look
We,
back a
we lose
year,
Q.
we
We
lose
lose
Q.
Henderson,
Yeah.
who at the end of the season wasn't playing a ton.
No.
But Q, obviously, your main guy, the engine that drove this team, right? So that's a big
Yes.
loss.
Huge loss.
But we played a lot of time with three freshmen getting tons of minutes at the end of the season.
Well, and not only that, we played deep on our bench all the way through. I mean, started in the SEC tournament deep, 9, 10 players. A lot of guys got playing time. A lot of guys got to show what they could do as far as kind of defensive skills, obviously, which is Buzz is huge about having a strong, extremely difficult defensive team, so you give that offense a lot of trouble. But coming back next year, you got a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think it was who was the team? I just read it the other day that lost 9. Is it? I think it's LSU. LSU had 9 basketball players
Enter the transfer portal
enter the portal.
because of the
Yeah, you
all the
look at
problems
this.
they fired the coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's gigantic. But I believe we had 9 last year leave too, or it might have been 8. It felt like the whole team
Yeah.
left, and Buzz
Pretty
went
much.
out and pulled people from all over America.
I wouldn't be surprised if he hits the transfer portal again, right? I mean, maybe not like last year,
Yeah,
but maybe bring in one or two guys to the transfer portal to try to add to the team. Um, Now you got to be careful because there's guys like the kid, which the season left mid-season, right? He transferred in. It just didn't, you don't want to mess up the chemistry of a team that has a lot of it,
yeah.
right?
Well, and you had that kid come over from Duke who had a great
Coleman was great.
great year. And maybe that kind of opens the eyes to some of these other guys that are sitting out there, maybe on the Kansas, UNC, Duke, Kentucky team that's 12 deep and they're all 4 and 5 star players, to say, hey, look what this guy did. I could come down and kind of do the same thing, much less with a team that's got a real strong foundation to build on. But it also kind of goes to show, uh, Buzz, a lot of people weren't liking him midway through the season. I was one of them. The basketball team has just always been kind of a sore subject for me ever since AC Law and those guys have gone, and that's been a long time. But he showed me a lot, and I'm definitely a fan. And I think it was a great pickup. He's shown what he can
Yeah.
do with a class that was as crazy as that was, to bring all those kids from
Hmm.
across the country and build what he built in one year.
Look,
Pretty impressive.
I love the guy. I've said it since the day he got hired that I do appreciate what he does because it reminds me a lot of that Billy Gillispie style, right? And he coached. He was here under Billy Gillispie his first time around, and that style, I love that style. It's defense, 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 because you always have a chance if you play defense, right? And look, in this game, they didn't shoot the ball well from deep, and the difference in the game is the fact that Xavier had one of their guys go off and hit a couple of key 3 pointers, and
Yeah.
so in the second half they hit some threes, and they win by 1 point, right? Which also tells you something about this team. Even without that aspect of their game going well, they're in that game and have a chance to win.
Yeah, they took a shot to win the game. And if
And
it goes
and
down,
and they were ahead before that. And 24 hits that running hook shot, just I
yeah.
mean prayer that he throws up there, and it just goes in. So I'm proud of the guys. I was very impressed with their running SEC tournament at end of the SEC into the NIT, and what they did after such a blow to their hearts not to get into the tournament after after that run in the SEC tournament. So um, congratulations to Buzz and all those guys on that team. Great year,
I can say I'm honestly looking forward to next year to see what happens. And I'll watch.
absolutely, absolutely. Uh, Track ish. A chain goes, wins the 100 meters this weekend with a 10-12. Unbelievable run. Goes and wins the 200 meter with a 20-20. Unbelievable run. And then he was part of their 4x1 as well that got second place. So big weekend for AJ, man. He's just burning it up on the track right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time we had a football player that was as involved in track with as much success of what he's getting. So, I
Yeah.
mean, he's got year around the year, there's no off season for him. He's staying in
Hmm.
top shape. I think it definitely bodes well for what he can do for this year, and especially stepping into the starting position to really establish himself. It's going to be very fun to watch that this year, and he brings a different aspect to the game than Spiller did,
Yeah.
and so it's going to be, if we have a little bit better offensive line this year, a little bit better protection, see what he can really do.
And
But
I think it's going to be a lot better offensive line, by
yeah,
the
I
way.
mean, we did definitely scrape the bottom last year, so you would think it's only going up from here on that side.
So, absolutely. And here's the thing with it. You know, track shape is different than football shape, right? So he's still getting better. He's still going to get faster as this he's always going to be at his top track at the end of the season,
Yeah,
right? When you want to be at the top,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so he's going to continue to get faster as that season goes along when he as he gets into that track shape, right? Um, and then he'll come back and rebuild it again. And I'll tell you, it will be pretty interesting to see what he does when he's the number one guy out there. It'll also be interesting to see how Jimbo utilizes him. Right? What does Jimbo do a little bit differently with him in the backfield? How many carries and touches will he give him instead of using some of the secondary and third backs as well? Right?
Yeah.
Because they're talented also. You have an update for us?
Uh, right now, Aggies are down 5-2.
Woo!
It's in the bottom of the fifth. Alabama's batting, so right now it's not looking too good. But hey,
And they like to score. They like to score runs late.
we'll keep you updated.
All right, so football, man. Let's remind everybody maroon and white game on April 9th. That's next Saturday. I'll be there. Check out the Aggies and see what's going on and how the whole spring practice has culminated. So it's a big. I'm really excited about this maroon and white game because there's a lot of players we haven't seen on the field yet, right?
A lot of 5 stars.
A lot of 5 stars. Speaking of which, we already had the number one class. We already had the best defensive line class. We add another 5 star defensive lineman to the 2022 class. LT Overton signed up on Friday, committed. Just another one of these guys that's a hoss. And I'll tell you, he provides something that we need as well because he's not just a big body, right? he's got explosiveness off the edge. He can be a defensive end and one of those guys that helps start to put some pressure on the quarterback. 6'5", 265, somewhere in there, 6'4",
Yeah.
6'5", 265, and explosive.
We knew those long and lean guys, and we're definitely stocked up at the D line position. But we
Mhm.
definitely, as far as that D end spot, it's good to have somebody like this that can come out, get onto the team, and kind of diversify
Yeah.
what these D linemen are and where they're going to be.
And I White is another one in this class that's definitely an edge guy, right? He's
No, that's
he's
true.
definitely an edge guy, and he's going to be part of that group. But think about this: 8 defensive linemen in this class now with Overton, and his brother may be coming as well, who's a defensive tackle.
Yeah, I think his brother's a lock. Spent some time up playing football for Liberty. Actually, got recruited at high school as a tight end, but has put on about 40 pounds of muscle since he's been at Liberty.
Their mother's an Aggie, right?
Yeah, they're Aggies. Actually, they're born there from College Station. So it's interesting that the brother comes. We get him recruited. I'm sure they like coming back home. I'm sure the mom's got to be elated. She has a
Oh,
master's degree, I believe,
yeah,
from A&M.
yep.
And so, the rich get richer. We already had the highest class in the new modern era. Now we've set a new record for the most
8
five.
defensive linemen. Look, Nolan,
You know,
LT Overton, Brunlow Dindy. All those guys are 5-star, by the way. Shamar Stewart, 5-star. Anthony Lucas, Anai White, Malik Silla. I mean, that's incredible. That is incredible.
it's ridiculous. I mean, to even think that we could pull a class like that off, you never would have dreamed. I believe it's more 5 stars than we've had like in the last 5 years combined. On one side, we had, I believe I read a number a while ago. There were 34 5 star kids that came out of this class, and we had 8 of the 34 in the country.
Look, Anthony Lucas is on campus already. He's looking good in practice and doing some things. But in some of these guys are going to get on the field in 22.
Yeah.
But in 2 years, that defense should just be like it just should be so it's going to be unstoppable. I mean, how do you line up and how do you get your offensive line excited about having to show up and say we can't double team anybody?
No, and on top of that, when you start putting it in your third down guys, you're bringing in guys for third down that are 5 stars that are
Yeah,
coming in, beating up an O line, and they just continue to pound them and beat them. I mean, and we're not even
4 in,
talking
4 out
we're not even talking about the D line guys that are
from
already,
last year.
yeah, that already at A&M.
Yeah,
We're not talking about the freshmen. I mean, it's crazy. It's
it's
ludicrous what the
it's incredible.
riches that is there.
It's incredible. The D line haul is absolutely incredible. I'm excited to see them all on the field at some point. It'll be interesting who starts getting reps early. Obviously, experience and being here is a big factor in football, right? So it's not going to all come together for the freshmen in year one, but I fully expect that by year two, I mean, they're going to be terrorizing some SEC offenses.
Well, the good thing, it's going to put a lot of pressure on our O line through all these practices. You're going against just stud after stud after stud after stud.
Mm-hmm.
That should be paying dividends for us on the O line side, especially with this
Right.
new coach that's there, our new O line coach. He'll be able to see exactly,
Yeah.
real time fast, stud against stud, what he has, where he needs to make improvements. So it'll definitely benefit that offensive line side, but it wouldn't. I would not feel bad at all if we go get 3 5 star O linemen next year.
Right.
Please.
Let's make that happen,
I
Jimbo.
think I think D line's
Jimbo,
stocked
can
up
you
for a while.
can you bring us a couple of 5-star offensive linemen next year,
Yeah.
please? So exciting stuff with LT Overton joining the Aggies, and so he'll get here this summer
And
and be
brother,
ready to play, and the brother. So that's good stuff. All right, player spotlight today. Number 27, Antonio Johnson, 6'3", 200 pounds. It's gonna be a true junior, right? Third year on campus in 22. Big time recruit out of Illinois. Jimbo pulled him. I mean, one of the top safeties in the class. Last year, as a freshman, he played some.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He had a good year as a freshman. He played a lot more towards the end of the season, but he was the jump he took from his freshman season to his sophomore season is one of the biggest jumps I've seen a player make at A&M. It was unbelievable. He had a phenomenal year last year. PFF has him as a first team All American. First team All American at safety. He was
Pretty
a
impressive.
second team All SEC player.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, he could be one that could actually step into that kind of field general position next
Mm-hmm.
year, with leading these guys. And with the issues that we had last year with Jones and Jones back there, kind of with injuries and playing standards not kept from where they were the previous year, these guys had chances to step up. And then this goes to prove and show with this recruiting, if you bring good in talent and you give them opportunities, that they can kind of rise to the top. And that's what he's done.
Yeah.
Um, the expectations that they have for him, um, with what you just said about being an All American, is crazy. I mean, never would have dreamed that in the beginning.
Look, I fully expect this guy to come out and be the leader of this defense this coming year. Look, he can do everything, right? He covers, he blitzes,
Blitzes, yeah,
he's great against the run. He'll take on blockers, right? I think this year his game gets even bigger because I think he'll start. They're going to allow him to be a little bit more on the deep safety side too.
yeah.
To add another aspect to that, he's the prototypical type of athlete that the NFL is looking for in their guys that can do all these different things, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything on that defensive side of the ball that he can't do, man.
Well, he definitely grasped the defense, and he took that to a new level. And it's going to be interesting to see how, with the defensive coordinator change, how they plan to involve him into the game. You would expect they would give him more
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, because he's proven he can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
His awareness that he has on the field to see plays developing to get where he needs to get, that's innate, and that's what he has.
And here's the thing, right? I love the fact that they did it in steps, right? So last year he played nickel. He played nickel and solely nickel, man. He got great at nickel. And now, after he knows that, he can do that. He can step right into that.
Yeah,
Now, let's add some free safety look to it, right?
yeah,
So adding and building on what he's already doing, not throwing it all into on his plate right away. Let him be good, man. Let him go make some plays. Let him do his thing, and he did. Him and Damani will be the leaders of this defense
yeah.
next year, and you wonder if a guy maybe like McKinley steps up with the D line, right?
You hope.
But
Should.
should right? But those two guys are the leaders of that defense come go for
Yeah.
22, right? Um, Super excited to see what Antonio's got in store for us this coming year. And the only thing I'm worried about is that he's going to play so well, he's going to be a first round draft pick and be gone afterwards.
Well, I mean, it definitely could happen. The defensive talent that's on that side, and with the challenges that we had last year with getting young guys in to get time, obviously Johnson was there and taking care of his business and developing the stud that he is now. But you got, is it Chappelle or Chapel? got
Chappelle.
got a lot of playing time, and then was it Cooper Edrin?
Yeah.
Got a lot of playing time. So I'm feeling better, even though we went through that growing pain last year. I'm feeling better at these positions where we don't have every 5-star player like we do in the D line. These other key positions that have to get better. A lot of guys got a lot of playing time young last year. This should be a better defense than what we had last year. And it's shocking to say that, but it really can be.
We are going to be, that's going to be the best cornerback room I think we've had here since I've been watching the Aggies. I mean, um, they're deep and they're talented,
Yeah,
right? So, and they've got guys that are experienced that have been around a while. They've got extremely talented young guys, right?
yeah,
All of they, I mean, they fill the whole spectrum
yeah.
at corner, and so it'll be exciting to watch that part of it develop. I'll say this, and I've said it in previous podcasts. I don't know that the defensive line can be as good as what last year with the amount of experience that we lost, right? They're more talented, maybe. That's probably true, but they just don't have the time on the field yet.
No, I think that's fair to say. You can't. No, there's no way that you can say with PV and Leal and all those guys that you're going to have a better line than you did last year. I don't think we'll have a better line.
Clemens and Tyree.
Yeah, I mean, but what I can say is that we're deeper. We're
Oh
going to
yeah,
be able to rotate more
yeah,
big studs that could just
yeah.
come in and wreck stuff. And but in that sense, I think they can get close. Not one on one, player to player, of the guys that we lost, but as a group, I think they can be as good as what we had last year over an entire game.
Look, I think there's two things, right? One is McKinley Jackson has got to have a much better year than he did
He's
last
got to
year.
have a leadership role.
He's got to
Show these
be
guys.
he's got to come through on the promise that he showed as a freshman, right?
Yes.
That's number one,
Not get in trouble again.
right?
Play all the games and all the practices.
Look, and that's first. But here's the other thing. I think we talk about the freshman group. I think all those sophomores that got recruited last year, a
Yeah.
lot of them will be redshirt freshmen, by the way. All those guys, they're going to have to be the guys that step up.
Yeah.
You know, you can't expect it from the freshmen. The freshmen, you know, especially the guys that haven't even been on campus that aren't going to get here
True.
till the fall, right? You can't
True.
expect it from those guys.
No.
It has to be those guys that were big time recruits last in 21, right? Big time recruits in 21, and didn't really get any playing time last year other
Yeah.
than Turner, right?
That's true.
And those guys have to show up. Those guys have to be the foundation of this defensive line for 22.
Well, they're going to have their opportunity, and that's what they didn't have last year. Very few
Right.
times that they have that opportunity to get out there and establish and get kind of a, get kind of a groove working because of how often they were coming out. So those guys got their
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So it's a matter of kind of seeing what they can do. And they got pressure.
Yeah.
When you see what just happened with recruiting, that's a lot of pressure.
Oh
So
yeah.
you have a lot of pressure of the studs that just left that are going to the pros, and then you have unbeknownst pressure that nobody has ever had to feel with that many 5-star D linemen coming right behind you.
Yeah, because you know if those guys get on the field before you do, you're done.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
And we're talking Adelier, we're talking Burris, we're talking all those guys. Harris, right? I mean, all those guys are gonna have to come in, Turner, which we've already mentioned. You know, those guys are gonna have to have the year, right?
Yeah.
So I am excited to see that development from those guys because they didn't get on the field at all last year.
Got their chance.
They've
I mean,
got
this spring practice and going into fall, they know
Mhm.
that that's what Jimbo. It's all about technique and knowing where you need to be. So maybe the most talented doesn't get out there.
Yeah.
The smartest will.
Yeah, and they look, and they're using those reps right now. I've seen them on the field in practice, and look, you know, Turner's getting a ton of those reps. Adelier, like I said earlier, is getting a ton of those reps. You know, and then the guys on the outside with Diggs as well, getting in the mix too. So um, we'll see it on Saturday. We'll see it on Saturday too,
Yeah.
right? At the maroon and white game, we'll see how much progress they've made. How do they look against the offensive line, right? So I'm excited for that.
I feel more secure about the defense this year than I did last year. Overall talent, depth at the positions, and now experience. Even though we lost all that on that D line
Yeah,
side, and always some other guys, but
it's the talent level is ridiculous too.
D should be fun to watch this year.
All right, so our topic today, said at the beginning, SEC West quarterback rankings. All right, look, this is a good year for quarterbacks in the SEC West. Let me just say that. Let me start by saying that. I mean, obviously, you're bringing back the Heisman Trophy winner in Bryce Young.
Yeah.
So Bama's going to be all right.
With a year of experience now,
Yeah,
that he didn't have last
he
year.
didn't have it
and
last
still
year.
won the Heisman.
Isn't that crazy? Guy showed up. Just okay.
Heard
That's
the guy
cool.
do that once before. What was his name? Okay.
What? So Bryce Young, phenomenal year, right? And 4,800 yards, 47 touchdowns, only 7 picks. The guy had a great year, but he had some phenomenal weapons on the outside also.
True.
Guys that had played too,
Yeah.
right? So they lose those guys.
Yeah.
Mechie, Williamson, right?
Yeah.
And so those guys are gone.
Yeah.
They're going to be first or second round draft picks or whatever this year. That's on top of the guys that they lost the year before. And in the national championship game, that became a little bit of a liability for them, is those receivers. Now I'm sure, look, one of those guys is going to step up.
Yeah.
And they got another transfer, I think. So all those things are happening. He's still going to have weapons, but I actually think he takes a little bit of a step back. What do you think?
Hey, I'd love to hear it. I don't know that it's going to happen.
Numbers wise, right?
You know, potentially numbers wise, the issue that I've got with it, and I know they've lost some guys on that wide receiving core. But man, Alabama does. There's nobody in the country that does a better job at replacing dudes,
That's true.
and they just pick right up where the other guy left off. And they had a lot of injuries last year, national championship game, and I think also the SEC championship game. I think they lost their top two receivers in those two games,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Matthew Williams, yeah.
And so I think he comes back smarter, more intelligent, kind of like a Tom Brady, where you went through a season, you did it, you got all of that knowledge now to be able to use in those quick decisions that you made wrong last year, you'll make right this year. Numbers could go down some, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're still right there. I mean, he's definitely going to be up there to win another Heisman. I think he's
look, and they don't have that. They don't have that go-to running back again, right? Like, so they're probably going to sling it around a little bit.
Well, and they
or
had
at least try.
Yeah, and they had some offensive line issues last year.
Yeah.
You definitely saw it against us.
And they're losing a first-round draft pick, number
Yeah.
one overall tackle, or number two, one of the two, right?
But they do, but they do rebuild, they do recruit, they do put the next guy in better than any other team has in a long, long time. And
Okay.
So I think he's by far number one. He's probably number one in the country.
So he's definitely on the list, right? But he's not the only one, because there's other guys. KJ Jefferson is back, and at Arkansas, and his throwing numbers aren't going to be the same as Bryce Young's, but he adds the element of the run, and the way they use him with the power running game is hard, hard, hard to defend. I'm telling you, that's the game that we played last year that I thought they beat us. They flat out beat us, and we had a chance to tie that, to get into that game, because he got hurt. By the way,
Yes.
because he got hurt. If he'd have stayed healthy, they might have run away with that thing last year.
No, they straight up whoop us. Probably more convincing, really, than any other team when you take consideration
Yeah.
that we did knock their quarterback out and did have a chance, but it was straight up just dominance. And once again, that guy coming back with more experience. Um,
Another year in that offense.
Yeah, can be extremely dangerous. I don't know how well our game plan was set up for last year. Obviously, not really well because of the way it all went. We'll definitely have a better game plan for next year.
Let's try not going 3-man line on them.
Yeah, I mean,
let's start with that.
They'll be ready for him this year. I don't expect that game. I do expect us to win that game. Next year, we definitely should be beating Arkansas. But
look,
a lot of experience
outside of Alabama, I'd say that's probably the game that I'm most worried about. Yeah. Honestly. And he's not so once again, he does lose a big weapon, Traylon Burks, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to replace him. And Burks was phenomenal, right? He was all conference. He's a first round draft pick.
Yeah. One of the reasons they had that here.
Yeah. But then
there's two returning starters.
Rogers.
There's a third one,
who's going to be in his third year in the system with the Pirate. Always leads to big time numbers, right?
Usually does, but I saw something with Leach last year that I haven't seen from him with his stand at Tech, and where was it, Washington State?
Mm-hmm.
Man, he really seemed to take a step back last year. They were not as good as I really expected, and of course they beat us. But overall, they lost some games last year that I did not expect them to lose.
And then they won some games you didn't expect them to win.
Well, that's true, but we were outplayed on that game too. But Rogers is a fantastic talent, so
he's phenomenal.
For me, it seems to be about this O-line protection. If he can get the protection that he needs, the dude could sling it anywhere. So,
and their best offensive lineman is graduating, going pro.
So he's definitely dangerous. He's just, if
but
not more
Leach
dangerous.
Is phenomenal with the offensive line, by the way. He's always been.
It's always been his thing. I mean, well, and it's play calling, but he's an O coach. I mean, that's what he is for sure. So we'll see if I'm wrong. Uh, I hope I'm not. I hope I'm right. I hope he's kind of on the downside of his career and the downside of his coaching style.
Okay, so to get the rest of the group in here, right? We've got at LSU a competition probably between the transfer in Daniels and Brennan, the guy that won the job last year and ended up getting hurt, right?
Yeah.
And I thought Brennan had a good start to the season, man. I mean, I think he's a good, solid quarterback. The question is, can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy?
I'll tell you what,
You know,
LSU's had as much trouble at quarterback as we have had, if not more. They were when they played us 2 years ago, they couldn't figure out who they wanted to play,
right?
and now neither one of those guys is there. Both are
And
transferred out.
and here's the thing, you know, Daniels may have a shot to win this too because, and he had a great freshman year at Arizona State, not so good since then, but he's going to have a shot because he's such a good athlete. And Brian Kelly likes to have a good athletic quarterback, right? They look at the guys that he started at Notre Dame. A lot of those guys were good athletes, could run, could make plays with their legs, right?
Well, yeah, and the good point about another point off of Brian Kelly being there is like whole new offensive plan.
Yeah,
I mean, it's wide open. So
yeah.
Brendan
So the
doesn't have
competition's open. Yeah.
his level. He doesn't. No one's really getting the playbook down a
Right.
year longer than the other guy is. So it is definitely wide open race there.
Okay, so that's LSU. Dart over the USC transfer
Yeah.
over to Ole Miss, joining. He didn't. He only played part of the year over there. Didn't have a phenomenal year, but the kid is obviously talented, and he's going to go play for Lane Kiffin, who is going to allow his guy to go make plays. Right?
Man, Lane frustrating because at some points you do want to pull for him because he's just crazy and he doesn't care
I'm never going to pull for
and he
Lane.
loves to score. Uh, but I kind of look at Lane as the new young Leach. Like he's coming in, he's doing his thing. He's got his own air raid style. He's throwing clipboards 50 yards up in the air. People are hitting him with golf balls. I mean, there's just a lot going on with that guy. But he's an offensive genius, and so it's just kind of a matter of surrounding the talent. And I think it's really going to be interesting to see what he has this year with this quarterback because I think this is a big quarterback decision for him because
Yeah.
this guy is going to be his breadwinner. This is the one that's going to be the one that he's going to be holding
Matt
on to.
Corral was pretty much that.
What Corral was no stud. I mean, stud
Yeah,
carried that team.
carry that team.
Carried that team. But Corral was there before Kiffin was there,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Yeah. So this will be his first time to get his quarterback in, develop him, see if he can keep him there 3 or 4 years.
Remember, he's a transfer.
It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be. I think a freshman
I think
could have
there's
a
a
real
fall off
shot.
over there. By the way, I think there's a fall off with that office because Corral had just been doing it for 2 years with him. But I think they end up having a pretty good. It's not that far of a fall, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I think they'll do.
Cross huge loss, huge.
Yeah, yeah, huge loss, absolutely. And then the other competition is at Auburn, Calzada, Finley, right? And then at A&M.
So yeah, so it's funny. You got Finley that came over from LSU, and you got Calzada that came over from A&M, and they're both fighting it out.
Clearly the worst quarterback room in the SEC West.
I think so. I mean, and here's the thing: you don't want to say too much bad stuff about Calzada because he beat Alabama, and he was
The
definitely.
one game his offensive line performed well, he won against Alabama.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's like, what could he have done last year with a better offensive line instead of losing 4 starters like we did the year before? And definitely has all the moxie in the world, takes huge hits, goes in the tent, they shoot him up with whatever they shoot him up with.
He's a tough son of a
He
gun.
comes right back out
There's
to
no
plays.
question.
So, I mean, I'll be pulling for him over there until he plays us. But hey, if I'm Auburn, I'm going to go get a quarterback that's beat Alabama, and that kid did. So I'm going to
Here's the thing. I think he probably wins that job, but Philly's got to step up on him, right? Because Philly's been in the system already for a year.
Yeah.
I don't know that I. Finley's really good athlete. He's got some great qualities to him, but he's just not consistent enough throwing the football to me to be a great college quarterback, right?
No, and I think you see that with them going into the transfer portal and getting another quarterback. That obviously they don't have that sense of security there either.
And he needs to win.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, after all the stuff in the offseason this year and the investigations and all the different things, right? He needs to win, so he can't be messing around.
There's a lot of controversy going over at Auburn. I
Yeah.
think they're probably the biggest mess of all of the SEC West with
They're
everything.
regretting firing your boy, by
Yeah. That guy was a jackwagon, so I'm glad that it couldn't have happened to a better school to be in this much trouble. And is Mason even there? Didn't he get let go?
he lost both his coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, and that's crazy because they were looking at Mason. I mean, that was in the rumor mill for us.
Yeah.
And so it's a hot
So
mess over there.
all right, so we've got all these guys. Like I said, the A&M's going to get in here, and I think it's King. And I think the more I see of the three of those guys, the more I think it's King. Saturday we'll get another view at all of those three guys with Connor and with Max Johnson, right? And we'll see all three of them. And I imagine they'll all three get reps with the ones. They'll all three get reps with the twos, and we'll see sort of what happens. I think it's King.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do this Marina White game. It's a little bit easier last year when you had King and Calzada. You got three quarterbacks this
Mm-hmm.
time that you're trying to get out there with the ones and the twos.
Remember back then though, they were also playing. They were also playing the freshman,
Yeah,
who's a tight end now,
yeah, but that was kind of trash time. I mean, was it Shower?
Stowers, Eli
Start.
Stowers, right?
Yeah. So, and I haven't heard really much. Evidently, he had a shoulder injury.
He's recovering from the
and they waited
surgery. Yeah.
till the end of the season to have the surgery,
Mhm.
which I guess pretty much ended his quarterback career. But definitely still a stud, still a great athlete. Um, I don't know how he gets into this tight end room with the monsters, the three guys that he's brought in.
He's a pretty legit athlete.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, definitely you want to find a way to get him out there. But with bringing those three guys in and Cup left, I mean, Cup sees the writing on the wall. He's gone.
I'd say this. I think he'd be in the running even more if he hadn't been hurt all last year, right?
You
If
know,
if he actually was able to get reps, do those things, learn, he learned the playbook and then all those things, but he wasn't getting the reps because he was injured. So if he had had that time, maybe you're saying, hey, he might be competing for some time here, right? But I'm
well,
not sure he does.
and it's definitely fair to say, and I think you'll agree with me on this. I
I
mean,
might say transport.
tight end position took a turn in the wrong direction last year.
Yeah.
And that position has definitely got to get step back up. That's a position that we have to have. And I think it was a focus, obviously, because they went out there and got, you know, we got three studs. So it's crazy. Not to mention the ones that already got there. So
Yeah,
but
three out of like three out in the entire country, three
yeah,
out of the top 10 tight ends came here,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's impressive.
yeah. Maybe we
Um,
finally run that double tight end we've always been hearing about,
yeah,
wishing about.
I don't. Well, we do have Max Wright, so
It's true.
okay. Now let's talk about the rankings here. So leads? Who leads the SEC West in yards passing next season?
I'll go with. I still think it's gonna be Young.
Look, that's the easy answer, right?
Well,
And it's
what's
probably the right answer.
yeah, but there's another easy answer too, and which you're probably going to say too.
It's Will Rogers.
Yeah, I mean,
That's who I think
it's going to be one of those two.
That's
So
100%. There's your 1-2.
1A, 1B. I mean, there you go.
There's your 1-2. And I do. I think it's Will Rogers, third year in that system. I think, you know, he's going to air it out like he always does, right? I mean, Leach is not going to change his stripes at this point. That's what they're going to do. And with Young having to break in new receivers, I just think that Rogers is going to have an opportunity to surpass him, especially just throwing the football anyway. And then in after those two guys, I think you've got a clear like gap
Oh yeah.
to the next sort of group. And so, who's in that next group for you?
Well, I mean,
I look. I'll tell you the guy that I'd take in heart, KJ Jefferson. But yardage wise, I don't know that he's in that next group, right?
yeah, I don't know if he gets there with the amount of time with them out there running. I mean, you got But then you got battles. You got LSU and you got A&M and you've got Auburn, and you don't know what any of them are doing or who they're going to have out there. And you've got on our side, if you used to look at experience, you got King with some experience coming off a broken leg. He's the only one that's got good experience with that playbook. If you go over to Auburn, you've got Calzada that's basically has no experience with their playbook, but you've got Finley there. But he's not going to do it, even if he's the
Right.
one that wins a job. So I don't
Right.
think it's those guys at all. And then at LSU could be the
It
surprise.
could be Brennan. If
Could
Brennan
be.
wins that job, if Brennan wins that
It could be
job,
that next spot.
he could have that. Yeah, because
Sure.
he could sling it.
Yeah.
He can sling it. And here's the thing. The only thing there is they could split time, right? He
Yeah.
could go with a two quarterback deal and have some plays for Daniels, more run oriented, da da da, and then. But he hasn't traditionally. He hadn't done that at Notre Dame. He didn't. He hadn't done the split. He's changed quarterbacks within a season,
Yeah.
but not really split time kind of thing.
No, but you could see that there, and you could see that happening at Auburn too.
Of course,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
so
I think that next group, by the way, to me, is Dart and King. By the way,
I love it to be an A&M quarterback. I mean, I was just so frustrated with the offense last year,
oh yeah,
and the lack of, it was worse than what it was with Mon. Of course, Mon had a lot of experience, but we didn't
he
have
also
any
had a
explosive
lot of
plays.
experienced offensive
No, no,
linemen.
he did, but we didn't have explosive plays either with him.
No,
Very
they
rare did we
still
ever
don't.
go that.
They still don't.
We had a few this year, which I think is impressive with the lack of talent or lack of experience at the O line and at the quarterback position.
Right.
And we had a lot of injuries, once again at wide receiver. So it's if these guys can stay healthy, we have all the
I don't
talent
like that excuse.
in
I
the
don't like the
world.
excuse of the wide receivers not being healthy. Look, Chapman was the guy that got hurt. That's probably if it affected any
Well, that was the big
part of
play guy.
the big play. But they've got other guys that can do it. You know what I mean? They've got other guys. They already had other guys. Now they really have other guys. Evan Stewart is just a he's a phenomenal athlete, right? But
I love
even
Muhammad. He is set up to explode this year.
Moose, oh for
It's
sure,
crazy. I mean,
for sure,
the talent on the wide receiver side is ignorant.
yeah. And so to me, it's been it's been Jimbo
Well, I'm not
holding
saying you're
some of that
wrong.
back. But that's one of the things that I'm really excited about with Haynes King, though. What he do? One of the things he did very well last year, and you saw him do in that one game he started, also in the spring, get the ball down the field, especially when he gets out of the pocket. And to me, that's where your explosive plays and your big plays can become a big deal. Is when something breaks down, which happened all the time last year for sure, because that offensive line was horrendous. But when something breaks down, you get outside the pocket, man, and all of a sudden, defenses have got to respect that ball down the field, right?
You've got to have the explosive plays because you've got to keep the defense honest. You've got to give them the ability to spread that field out so they can pull, so they're not jamming the line,
Right.
which is one of the reasons we had issues running the ball last year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to give Octane some space to maneuver because he's not traditionally a guy that's going to go right through the tackles. It's not his style.
And he
Um,
does a good job of running in
he
tackles.
does, but he's not built like Spiller.
Yeah, you don't want to give him the ball 25 times to go pound it inside the
No, where they're
into
stacking the box
yeah.
because offensive line's crap and we can't move the ball. But if those
Um,
happens, it
yeah.
opens it up. So it definitely could. Hey, if I'm wrong about Johnson, it is King, and King is third with passing yards next year. I'm elated.
So I'm putting it out there. Rogers, Young, King, Dart. I'm gonna go Brennan, KJ Jefferson, Calzada. And that's disrespecting KJ Jefferson a little bit because I think he's gonna be a hoss. But I think where he's gonna get
It
a lot,
just,
he's gonna get those running plays
yeah,
too, right?
yeah. I think it's fair. I mean, you could probably move Jefferson up one,
Yeah.
but I think it's fair to say I'd be fine with that.
no matter where those rankings end up, the quarterback rooms in the SEC West right now are really strong. I'd say other than Auburn, but there's a lot of. I mean, that's a lot of talent. That's a lot of talent. Talented quarterbacks, big time players, which is probably going to make for a very good season in the SEC West as well, with a very competitive season.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing we've got going into this year, he didn't play a lot, but King does have some experience now, some, and definitely longer with the playbook. And you've got Johnson, not a lot of time with the playbook, but a lot of experience against the SEC. And so, unlike last year where we didn't have it to go to anybody
Right.
with any experience, at least we've got that going into
Yeah.
this year. And having Connor in that room with those two guys to just soak up everything, just sets that guy up to
Hey,
succeed.
and King was getting a lot of reps in practice going into the bowl game right before he got canceled too. So he even yeah, look, he got hurt. He missed all that time. Yada yada. He wasn't it. But then he came back and he was looking very good in practice right there, making some really good plays. And he looked like he got getting his groove back in right. I mean, after sitting for so long, and now spring he's looking. I mean, it's a good feel to me whenever you say that.
Well, and I think that's the other advantage. You've got to bring it in Johnson. And not only you bringing someone in that has experience, that's going to put some more pressure on King to go, okay, well, it's not
Oh yeah.
my job for
Oh yeah.
sure. Because, yeah, Connor may have been able to give him a run for his money just
Right.
because King didn't get that much experience. But now he definitely has. He's got to hit those books. Not that he hasn't been, but there's a lot better. There's a lot more pressure on him to get out there, succeed, and crush it.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
agree.
another advantage of bringing in Johnson.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And he won't name the starter until the fall.
Probably the
Um,
week before.
Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Ross and Distributing, assisting Aggies with all their drilling needs. Aggie owned and operated. First question: who is going to win the SEC East? I don't know why you're thinking about it.
I mean, the easy choice is Georgia,
Done.
but I'm
They
telling
just
you,
lost an NFL team though,
uh,
right?
that's
Their,
true.
their entire defense
But
is going to be playing in the pros next year.
but that guy is a recruiting genius
Yeah.
and has been stacking up class after class after class.
And not only
But
that, he's the best defensive. He's the best defensive coach in the SEC.
I like Tennessee and I like Kentucky. I
Yeah.
think they both took steps forward last year. I think it's great for the East to have those guys successful.
Yeah.
I can't stand Florida, so I definitely like them to be last. Vanderbilt's going to be a joke.
Vandy's a
Um,
joke, but Florida,
Florida's going to be good.
they
They've got
they're
talent
not
everywhere.
not in first year Napier. I think
No,
they're going to take some
it's
adjustments
the
there,
right step though.
but it's the right. They had to get rid
Oh,
of
Mullen was a jackwagon. He should have been fired the previous year.
He was perfect at Mississippi State, where nobody bothered him. He could do whatever. Nobody ever saw. Nobody paid attention to anything he was doing over there, right? And so it was perfect for him. He could sit over there in his little hole and do all the crazy stuff that he wants to do, but nobody
No
knows.
magnifying glass on
Yeah,
him.
absolutely. But Florida, they look that was the right move, and they will get better, but they're not going to compete for that division crown this year. I still look. I still think it's probably Georgia. I still think it's probably Georgia, but it's more
Yeah,
competitive because Tennessee is going to be better, and Kentucky is. They won 10 games last year.
yeah.
You know, he just does
I mean,
such a great job with that team. I'm just impressed by Stoops and what he's done as a coach over there. I mean, it's unbelievable.
and what's the coach's name for Tennessee? He was the Oklahoma quarterback.
Hyper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little chunkier now. I
Yeah.
think he like he likes
He
that Tennessee
he
food. But what?
he ain't gonna be scrambling out of the pocket.
No, but what I will say is that the amount of ignorance and craziness and shenanigans that was going on in Tennessee for that little spell
Oh yeah.
2 years and coaches getting fired
Oh
and
yeah.
quitting and all the mess, what he was able to do last year
Yeah.
is truly amazing.
Yeah.
And the guy's heading in the right direction, and he's got
Look,
that. He's got him believing.
I didn't expect him to play as well as they did last year. I
No,
really didn't.
no way.
But Hendon Hooker came in there and
Oh,
solidified things for their offense, and I think
huge,
and with him back, I think they're gonna
huge.
come out running, right?
Yeah,
Big deal. So we still think it's probably Georgia,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Little surprise. South Carolina's gonna make some noise over there, man. South Carolina, well coached. They're not as talented as either one of those three teams, by the way. They're not. They're not yet. But man, they're well coached. And adding Rattler, a big deficiency for them last year at quarterback. Adding Rattler with a coach that he's been with before, right? I think they're going to make some noise. They're not going to win the East, but they're going to beat one of those top three teams. I'm calling it right now.
Do we get South Carolina on our schedule this year?
Of course, every year.
Are they every year?
Every year.
Okay.
At least until Texas and Oklahoma show up. Then who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. I'll say this about Rattler. I've never seen the Heisman favorite in a season.
Get benched.
Not only, get benched, but fall from the number one Heisman expected quarterback, get benched, and then lead the team, and all within like 6 months. That was crazy.
It's crazy.
That's the world of college football though right now.
All right, question number 2, and this is a fun one. So last week, I believe we reported that Johnny Manziel, my personal favorite Aggie ever, my guy,
Funnest to watch ever.
ever. Maybe my funnest college football player to watch ever. Period. Just it.
Yeah.
My guy. Number 2,
Preach.
right back here.
Preach.
Right. He announced that he's retiring from football. We knew that because that really happened like 4 years ago, right? But then he said something about maybe he wants to coach. Maybe he wants to coach for the Aggies, man.
Yeah.
What do you think? Johnny Manziel ever coach for the Aggies?
Well, I heard he's on that fan-controlled league again this year.
Yeah.
7-on-7. So
I'll
watch it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And you know who also signed on that team? Signed up. Terrell Owens just signed. 48 years old. So Johnny's gonna be throwing to Terrell Owens out there. I'm gonna watch that because that's gonna be fun. Will Johnny ever be a coach? No. Johnny is way too out of control, and he would definitely be not the role model that I would be looking to lead our new young recruits. We should have him somewhere
in the program. Yes,
in the program, marketing. Whatever.
Yeah.
Publicity. I mean.
Yeah. Never in the coaching room though.
He's the most famous Aggie player maybe ever.
Look, what that guy did in a maroon and white uniform is unmatched. It is unmatched. Remember,
2 years.
We were going into the SEC. Everybody said Aggies are going to get their ass handed to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We go into the SEC. This guy wins a Heisman. He wins a Heisman.
Our first game
in year 1
is against Florida.
Because the game got canceled for the hurricane, right?
La Tech got canceled because of the hurricane. So the first game we got to play is Florida. Florida was dominant then, and we lose.
But that was a close game.
But we have a chance to win.
Yeah,
like we're in the game.
Look,
with this kid,
I
basically
believe,
like King with no experience. Boom, here he is.
I believe if the La Tech game doesn't get canceled, we win a national championship that year.
Well, I'll tell you this.
La Tech was good, by the way.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. We had all kinds of trouble with La Tech when we played them later that year.
Yes.
So I don't know that we go into Florida. We might come out 0-2 after that because La Tech
I'm telling you,
could have beat us. Even more on top of that season is that it's a brand new coach too.
Yeah. So
new coach, new everything, new league, new division, everything was new.
Dude, he I mean, just the plays, right? I mean, he beat Alabama that year.
Yeah.
Right. He goes as a freshman and beats Alabama that year.
It's nuts.
Just insane the plays, man. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head, right? I mean, the guy just unbelievable. He sees it coming. He's the opposite of Kellen Mond.
Yeah, where Mond would roll into sacks, he free and clear. He'd find a way to roll into a sack. And Manziel, there's 3 guys on him.
Yeah,
he just wait. He's like Barry Sanders. You wait a second, he gets out, and then he closes his eyes and throws it out 60 yards. And there's Mike Evans right there.
Evans and
that's when we got introduced
Ryan
to Mike
Swope
Evans
too, by the way.
Yeah, Swope, huge. I think he's one that caught the touchdown against Alabama.
Yeah.
With a little pirouette catch.
And look, he had a better sophomore year, by the way.
Numbers were better.
The team wasn't better because the defense was horrendous.
Second season, he had better statistics in his Heisman year.
But he had the worst defense in the country,
Yeah.
man. They were horrible on
Yeah.
defense, and they didn't give him a chance. And what he did in that bowl game against Duke, and I know we're talking Duke, and
Oh.
nobody's impressed by Duke football here, but they were pretty damn good that year.
I think it,
And
we
we
give
were
up
down,
50.
and homeboy just he lit a fire underneath that
I
team.
think we were down by
Mike
17.
Evans was pouting, remember?
Like at halftime, or at least we were way down.
Yeah, and dude, he just took it over.
You can't. You
And
never thought you could lose a game if he was there.
it was
You're like,
amazing.
we always have a chance.
So a little Manziel time, baby.
Not a coach,
Not a coach.
but definitely in the program.
Giga Maggies, AP, Stroud, signing out from the tailgate.